everybody, and welcome to Picking Up the Pieces. I'm your host, Kevin Gallagher, and it's a real pleasure to have you here. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m., and we're there every Monday night here on the Truth Be Told Radio Network. And following us at 10 o'clock at night is a guy I have on tonight, is L.A. Marzulli. So you can check him out at 10 p.m. All those times are Eastern. So, L.A., thank you very much for joining us here again. You've been a regular guest with us, and give us a little bit of your background and what you've been working on, and we'll go from there, and Acceleration Radio and all that great stuff.
Well, Kevin, great to be on again. Just thank you for having me here, and I salute you for your network and what you're doing, and Godspeed to you with that, my friend. Yeah, I've written like 13 books. Number 14 is being edited. It should come out fairly soon. We've got the Watcher series, which are full-on documentary films. There's 11 films in that series. The news series is On the Trail of Nephilim. There are 4 films in that, and that's continuous. That will go on until I can't film anymore. I'm working on 5. 6 is done. 7, we're already, doing like previewing all the footage and sort of getting a storyline together. So this will be the news series, which will go on really, like I said, until I can't do it anymore, or until the Lord takes us home, whatever. We're excited about the series. Got a lot of fascinating interview, and frankly, there's a hidden history which has been deliberately kept from the people, stated by the powers that be. And I realize that sounds like tinfoil hat conspiracy stuff, but I mean, I've got. Let me just whet the people's appetite here real quick, okay? So I'm on Catalina Island. It's years ago. I got wind of a cache of records that was recently discovered. So the archaeologists and anthropologists went out there because this cache of records turned out to be the records of Ralph Glidden. Glidden was a primitive archaeologist employed by the Hay Museum between 1919 and 1921. So this cache of records, photographs, journals, ledgers, all sorts of stuff, was missing for like decades. And it shows up, and I go out there. It cost me $1,000 to contribute to the new museum. And I'm in the museum at the Catalina Island, and they start bringing the boxes out. And within an hour, I find this, and this is really rare. Most of the time, you don't see this. That's a picture of Ralph Glidden, and in front of him is a 9-foot skeleton. How do I know it's 9 feet? Because I had 3 different researchers take the picture, digitize it, and figure out if Ralph Glidden is 5 foot 8 inches. 5 foot 8 inches, they can extrapolate, figure how far the skeleton is away from him. So, of course, science and museums are they're gonna tell us exactly what's going on, right? So Richard and I go out 6 months later. What's missing in the photograph? Anyone see that?
Wow, the body.
Yeah, the whole body. This is what it looks like when I step back. You can see we took this at the museum. My book is underneath the picture in the museum, and this has happened more than once. It just absolutely amazes me the way so-called scientists and museums won't look at anything that's a different paradigm, and of course they have no excuse for it other than, well, gee, I'm not sure why they did that. I'm not sure why I was handed this crop picture. I'll tell you why. It's called damage control. Same thing out in a place called Graves Creek in West Virginia. And Fritz Zimmerman and I are filming there. My wife is with us. We come walking out of the museum, and either Peggy, my wife, or Fritz goes, "Oh my gosh, look at this." And what we found out was this woman had retired from the museum, and the person that took her place started combing through all these files that she had. So she put up this display. On the way out of the museum to the actual mound, okay? And Peggy looked at this thing, and it was a picture, small picture, about this big, right? But it was a picture that was cut out originally from a lithograph, published like, over 100 years ago. And in that, it shows, we actually showed this in On the Trail of Nephilim the Mathematical Mysteries of the Mound Builders, which is number 2 in the series. And it plainly shows the museum inside the mound, because 150 years ago, the museum was inside the mound. And it shows women in period costume, and it's a lithograph. And there's a guy standing sort of next to the skeleton. The skeleton's huge. The skeleton is towering over the people that are in in this underground museum. And so this archaeologist does this hit piece on Fritz and I. And he shows the picture, the lithograph, which we discovered, which is, you can't find that anymore, by the way. And what they've done is someone has gone in and photoshopped the picture. So now the skeleton has shrunk, 3 feet. And some people watching this guy's channel goes, that's not the same picture that L.A. Marzulli showed in his film. You doctored the picture. And we got all over him. This guy's an archaeologist. And what is he afraid of? What is he afraid of a 9-foot skeleton? I mean, if it's there, there's the attraction of a lifetime. There were giants that walked the earth.
Yeah,
so that's what we're pushing
so
back.
in Genesis 6:4.
Well, that's, our overarching mission statement is to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air, which is the dragon, i.e. Satan, and to herald the return of the King Jesus. And so we go where, I don't know if any of the Christian filmmakers were kind of doing what we do. Tim Alberino and Steve Quayle were kind of touching on it a little bit for a few times, but they're no longer in business together. So I'm not sure exactly what Steve's doing, but we've got 4 films in the series, and like I said, number 5 is in the works, and that'll be out probably at the end of June.
That's amazing. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what are these people so afraid of? I mean, you have it's so exactly. Intellectually dishonest.
That's the thing. It's just like Chuck Todd on I forget what networks he's on, but whatever, because I don't watch the network.
Meet the Depressed?
No, he did a thing where he showed Attorney General Barr chuckling over the rule of law, but he left out the segment right after that where Barr is clarifying what he's saying, right? And he cherry picks that. It's total fake news, and this is the problem. I was just deplatformed on my Vimeo channel. Okay, they took, and if you're we had made. In other words, people went to our channel on Vimeo, rented our DVDs, and we had amassed about $10,000. And this was all directly due to the ads that we had taken out on certain websites, on their mailing list. One guy had 240,000 people on his mailing list. And we were offering all 4 of the series for just under $12, which is a great deal. And so people were buying it. So Vimeo deplatforms me because dare I challenge the official COVID-19 narrative. I'm quoting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in this report that I did, and basically said that upwards of 475,000 people, children in India, were paralyzed directly due to Bill Gates' vaccine. That video was pulled down. When I contested it, my entire channel was pulled down without warning. We've never had a strike, and they kept all of our money. You can't do that, but there's no recourse. You can't. There's no recourse at all. So this is where we are in America, where a company like this can come in. How many other people have they done this to? And it's problematic. So we're, I've already filed a complaint with the
it's called Welcome to Global Fascism.
It's unbelievable what's going on. But the new series is back up, and it's on streaming.la.net. So streaming.lamarzulli.net. Streaming.lamarzulli.net will take you right there. We signed up with these guys. They seem to be really good. They don't care what we put up. As long as it's not, blatantly wacky, like some white supremacist thing telling people
You know, it's
Go out and
amazing
get
that
something
this
crazy like
stuff
that.
goes on because I own and run a radio network. And the only thing I really tell my hosts is I don't censor them. I just say, look, don't swear, use proper decorum, don't attack the other hosts on the network. Other than that, have fun, enjoy your shows, and put out some good content. And that's where it ends. And you can go and ask any of my hosts. I don't bug them about anything because they're there to inform and do the best they can. And I'm here to provide the platform. And that's what I do.
Any opposition, any conservative voice that would dare go up against the official narrative. Meanwhile, out in California, I mean, I realize we're hopping around topics. They're already talking about this COVID task force, which is going to go out and test, door to door, make sure there's no one in there that's got the disease, and if they do, they're going to remove them from their house and place them somewhere safe. I don't think that's going to happen. That's how the Holocaust started. And
Well,
we're not doing.
that also looks like the videos I saw of them dragging people out of their houses in China.
Well, it's the same deal, isn't it? And that is no place. That type of draconian nonsense has no place in America. And people need to stand up. But churches need to stand up, coalesce, and come together and say, we're not doing this anymore. People need to stand up and say, and they are. I mean, like in Michigan, people are standing up and saying, what is this? Same thing in Pennsylvania, same thing in New Hampshire. So we are seeing some pushback, something in California. There are people that are pushing back. But I think look, the disease is real. I get that. But just like the JFK assassination was real, but there was underpinnings about
Exactly.
That, which were deliberately opposite of them real, but Building 7 collapsed at its own free fall speed. So if you say anything about those two things, you're called a conspiracy theorist, which, by the way, that term was invented for anyone who would dare challenge the official narrative by the War Commission, the JFK assassination. So anyone who, and that's stuck. I'm a conspiracy theorist if I believe in the miracles of the Bible. I'm a tinfoil hat wearing guy. So I mean, this is how everything is managed. So if I have a different, this whole thing with the wet markets was a classic wet. In my opinion. Here at the West, meanwhile, through seems to be a definite connection between the two. Other people have been bringing this thing up. So what are we really looking? Have people died from the virus? Absolutely. I know people that have died from the virus.
I do too.
They're elderly, but I also know people who died from the flu last year. So it's like, and the numbers, according to Dr. Birx, and I'll quote her, she doesn't believe anything the CDC is saying, can't trust them at all, and she thinks the numbers are inflated by 25%. So I mean, why are we shutting down the greatest economy that the planet's ever known, and basically corralling the nation into the globe into a global depression? And that this is a managed agenda. Because the only nation that I'm aware of that is not goose-stepped in line is Sweden. That's it. Sweden says we're not locking down.
And their rate of infection has been very similar to what has happened with all the draconian measures. So, I mean, it's just nuts what's going on. I mean, you look at what's going on here in Connecticut. We have a Governor Lamont here. And basically, the pattern that I saw develop is that things moved from China, went into Europe, and then if you wanted to see what was going to happen here on the East Coast in about 3 weeks, all you have to do is look at Western Europe. Then what happened, our governor basically became the assistant governor of Connecticut because anything that the governor of New York, Como, wanted to do, we wound up doing here about a week later. So it's like, why do we even elect a governor anymore why don't we just merge with New York? Because that's what's happening. It doesn't matter. I'll give you a good example. Recently, Como went and shut down the schools for the rest of the school year. Okay, and I told my wife, you watch, Lamont's gonna come out about a week from now, and he's gonna shut down all of the schools for the rest of the year. Guess what he did? He followed suit. He shut down all the schools in the rest of the year. This reminds me, just like when you have some major news story, LA, and you've played this on your broadcast where they're all parroting the different news channels the same exact words, saying the same exact thing, so that no matter it's a full spectrum spread, so that no matter what channel you're watching, you're getting the exact same message. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but that's why people are getting away from the mass delusion media. They're going after guys like you, listen to me, and other people, independent networks, because they know they're going to get something that's, for the most part, unfiltered and away from the corporate media fascist agenda.
Well, and that's part of the problem. The fact that they don't like that. They don't like people, that have the ability to have a studio. I'm in my studio now. All the lights are on, doors, windows are open. But when we get it geared up to do a program, I mean, it's we can do a 3-camera shooter if we want to. We have green screen capability, and the people that helped make this are people that contributed, to our GoFundMe account, which brought us to Oklahoma. But look, there's no doubt that conservative voices are being silenced everywhere. There's no doubt that there's an agenda. You pointed out that clip. We discovered it. A friend of mine, actually, Richard Shaw, my ex, the director of the Watcher series. Rick passed away a year this coming August, and he directed all of our Watcher series. We were very close friends, and he leaves his wife of almost 40 years, 2 children and 2 grandchildren. We greatly miss him. It's hard to believe it's a year. But Rick sent that to me, and I ran with it. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you see one of the talking heads on some local news station, a man and woman standing next to each other, and the guy goes, "You don't need us to tell you that gas prices are on the rise." And then it cuts to 2 other people on another news desk. "You don't need us to tell you gas prices are on the rise." Cut to another broadcaster in another state. "You don't need us to tell you gas prices are on the rise." And it does this about 20 times. And then you go, oh my gosh, this is a managed agenda, totally controlled, totally controlled. So where's this stuff coming from? And that's why I get my news from places like Breitbart, obviously Fox News, but then I'll look at CNN because they're 2 opposites.
Yeah.
So it's Breitbart, it's the Gateway Pundit, America Thinker, Tucker Carlson Show, stuff like that. But I mean, I'm all over the net. I got all these little web bots out there, fans that have read my stuff, always getting all sorts of stuff from people because I can't possibly keep up with it all. And we're doing a show a day here. If you want to see that, folks, go to my YouTube channel, L.A. Marzulli, PPS Report. We're doing them every day. We're excited. We're going to keep doing that. We're also doing a special show once a week called On the Trail of the Nephilim. That's what it's called. And we're going to probably shoot a program Thursday on that. That'll be our first program.
How did you get started looking at the Nephilim to begin with?
I read a book. This goes back to 1988, 1990, right around in that period of time. And I read a book by Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, who later became a mentor. And that book was called The Omega Conspiracy. The Omega Conspiracy is about Genesis 6:4 narrative, but then also Numbers 33 or 1333, where the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards. And so I interviewed Dr. Thomas, and he linked the whole Nephilim with the modern day UFO phenomenon. And that became the nexus for my 3 novels that I wrote, the Nephilim trilogy. And then from there, it's just branched out to what we're doing now. On the trail, look, we've been all over America, Chaco Canyon, Cahokia, the North Circle Mound, America Stonehenge, different mounds down south, Moundsville. I mean, we've been all over the place. Teotihuacan, Mexico, down in Peru, obviously like Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, Pumapunku in Bolivia, overseas, all over Portugal, all down into Spain, Karnak, France, Stonehenge, England, Israel with Gilgal Raphaim and the dolmens that are there. the island of Sicily, Malta, Gozo. We've been all over the place. And I've got hours and hours and hours of footage, which we haven't even gotten to yet. So when I tell you that you can watch 4 films, 5 will be out the end of June, 6 is done. And 6 is on the elongated skulls and the DNA results that we found in Peru. And we're going to set the record straight with this film, because that's my intellectual property. There was a team of people. We had help. Everybody gets credit. But, we were the ones that raised the money, that found the lab, that went down there and did the extraction. Mondo Gonzalez and myself. Rick Woodward was our anthropologist who came up with the idea that the foramen magnum, the brain hole, is in a completely different area of the skull than a normal human being. It's his study, nobody else's. There are people, and I won't even mention the guy's name, who are running around acting like it's their discovery. Shame on them. They never mentioned Rick Woodward's name. Rick Woodward was the guy that put it on the map. But they'll take his work and plagiarize it and stick it in their book. So we have to hire that published it, at least as far as I know. But this is how the crazy game is played. Plagiarism, and people just steal your stuff. So this will set the record straight. It's over an hour, and then we show the press conference where Mondo Gonzalez, our head archaeologist who went down to Peru with me, we did the extractions together. So Mondo is there, Rick Woodward presents, Dr. Malcolm Warren presents, and I think it gives a really good overview of what really went on and what we're looking at. And then we've got all this new footage from doctors, medical doctors, surgeons, optometrists, chiropractors who come on the record examining these skulls and state emphatically that this is a result of some sort of genetic difference between these elongated skulls and normal human beings.
Right.
So once again, Kevin, we're actually doing the flipping research, and I'm not degreed in archaeology. I'm learning by the seat of my pants. But Mondo is, and so is Rick. So I've got a team of people. And we're actually doing the hard science. The labs don't lie. They don't care what you get, what sample you have, what your ideology is, what your worldview is. You hand them a sample, they're going to tell you exactly. The machine's going to tell you what's there. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't care whether you believe in Jesus as your Lord and Savior, or whether you're a flaming atheist or whatever. It doesn't care. It's going to tell you the facts. We've got the facts, and that's why I'm passionate about this film. And it's going to come out probably the end of summer. It's
interesting too, from everything that you're saying, because it deviates entirely away from what we would call the scientific method. Like you're saying, there should be some aloofness, or you're separated emotionally or theologically from what it is you're researching, so that you can look at it, get the result, and then they would go and maybe test the hypothesis again and get the same result. Then they can say, say I was researching and I didn't know you. Hey, LA, nice to talk to you. Listen, I just tested this. Would you mind testing that? And then you come back with your result, and shazam, we get the same result. Maybe we go to a third, a fourth, even a fifth, and they get the same result. It's no different than, hey, if I'm an atheist, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, I believe the world is flat, I don't know, whatever. If I throw a ball up in the air, it's going to come back down and hit the ground. It doesn't matter who does it. And this is the same exact thing. No different. So here, everybody's getting their panties into a wad because it's not fitting their preordained theology that they have.
Exactly.
And it's got to fit that. And here's the problem that I have, that I've looked at over the years, and that is when you look at, like, say, and we're going to go there, we're getting into like the theory of evolution. The problem that I've had with the theory of evolution is that the further in time you go back and you look at humankind, the greater, the more flamboyant, the more intricate, the more involved are the things that you find created by human beings. And I put my little fingers up as quotes. Good example, the pyramids. How do you go from the pyramids to nothing? Human beings operate in a way in which they start out with a dugout canoe, and then you have the QE2. It follows a natural progression. You don't start with the QE2 and then wind up with a dugout. It doesn't work that way.
Well, it doesn't, and that's what's so interesting about many of these ancient structures in the Americas. Let's circle back to the mound builders. So we see in Cahokia and other places where whoever was there built these beautiful homes. I mean, they had like plaster walls on the outside. So you go from that to, wigwams and deer-hide teepees.
Mm-hmm.
What are we looking at? You go from a culture that somehow is able to, and we show this in the film, when you go to the largest mound in America, it's called Cahokia, and it's right outside of St. Louis by the Mississippi River. So when you're there at Cahokia, you're looking at about easily 450,000 tons of earth that was moved and compacted into this mound, largest mound in North America. So what does 450,000 tons of earth look like? And most people can't get their heads around that. So we show you what it's like. And we hired a guy, a laborer, and we created this tool, an ancient flint hoe. We hired a flint knapper. He created a replica of a flint hoe that would have been used thousands of years ago,
right,
by these primitive people. So we hire this flint laborer, and we show him digging with this hoe. And then he gathers up the dirt, puts it in the bucket, carries the bucket maybe 100 yards, dumps the bucket, steps on it, and walks away. When I show this to audiences, they just howl with laughter because this is a very slow process.
Yeah.
So the archaeologist will insist, oh, it took hundreds of years to do this. Well, not so fast, citizen. Pollen samples from Cahokia showed that no, Cahokia wasn't built in 300 years, more than likely under 20. And maybe even that's wrong. So the time has been accelerated. So you got one guy, and it takes him something like, 17 minutes to do one bucket, okay? To dig it and move it. So one bucket, in order to build Cahokia Mound, it's over 28 million single buckets of earth. 28 million single buckets of earth. So what does that look like? What does that look like? If you were to deconstruct Cahokia Mound and have a long line of trucks, right, dump trucks, and you fill up a dump truck, and then another dump truck, and then another dump truck, and you start parking them end to end like this. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6. You would have over 200 miles of dump trucks end to end.
Oh my God.
And that's just one mound. And that's just one mound.
One
there are
mound.
10,000. Yeah, there's 10,000 mounds in Ohio alone. And then you've got, and we show this in the films, folks. If you're at all in, if you want to know where you really live, go to streaming.lamarzulli.net. Rent all 4 videos for under $12. Educate yourself. Your mind will be absolutely blown. We show that there's advanced mathematics, advanced knowledge of the lunar precession. Here's something to think about. Native Americans did not have trigonometry. Wasn't there. They didn't know about trigonometry. And that's not insulting because Europeans 4,000 years ago didn't know trigonometry either, okay? Didn't happen.
Unbelievable.
So there's advanced surveillance. What does that have to do with anything, LA? Well, in order to know that the moon, okay, you have to track the moon for 18 and a half years. And you have to record the data because the moon will rise and fall and rise and fall. And it does it in a different place. That's why you get full moon, half moon, quarter moon, the whole. So you'd have to get out and you'd have to understand that, well, there's the moon. We'll put a stick in the ground and we'll line it up on a hill over there. We'll stand back here and we'll line up these 2 sticks, make a couple of notches, and we'll come back tomorrow and see where it's going to change. Seriously? This is the work by an English author by the name of Tom, Thom, who wrote about this, trying to figure out how these ancient megalithic sites knew about the lunar standstill, how they knew about the 18 and a half year lunar cycle. So he's trying to figure out a way to do it. The whole thing collapses when you get 5 days of rain and you can't see the moon anymore because the cloud.
Yeah, because you got all the cloud cover.
How do you record the data? How do you crunch the data? When you start to observe the moon, you don't know what year you're in. Am I jumping in year 4? Am I starting on year 18, year 1, year 12? You have no idea. You've got to crunch the data and somehow be able to crunch the data and go, oh, wait, we're repeating ourselves. Oh, wow, look, we were here before. How would you know that? 18 and a half year lunar cycle. And the book of Enoch, and we show this in the film, book of Enoch tells us that a fallen angel, a fallen entity, a rebellious entity, fallen, okay, rebelled against the Most High God. The angel's name was Sariel, and he showed the solar and the lunar procession to mankind, gave it to us. So in the new film, America Stonehenge, Part 2, we show we're in Portugal. We sit down and we show in France where I asked this question about the 18 and a half year lunar cycle. What about this? And all these guys are not Christians per se, and they're going, well, it came from somewhere, but we don't know where it came from. And then I quote the book of Enoch. This is just one of the most startling aspects. Here's something to think about. The Octagon Mound. We show this. The Octagon Mound. All right, in the Newark Circle Mound. It's called the Newark Earthworks. The Octagon Mound is an octagon, but it's an irregular octagon. So it's not 8 equal sides. And that octagon encloses a 50-acre, 50-acre parcel of property. And the only way you can see it is when you're high above the air. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio, the largest serpent edifice on the planet, with the serpent head with its mouth open like this in the act of swallowing an egg. Genesis 3:15, that the seed of the serpent will be at enmity, at war with the seed of the woman, the offspring. He, the Messiah, will crush the serpent's head, you'll bruise his heel. So that serpent, like this, with the mouth open on the Ohio landscape, is in the act of trying to destroy that egg, swallow that egg, because serpents don't give birth to eggs. They don't do that. It's trying to destroy the egg. And this is basically, Mark Hirschman gave me the idea, but I wrote the paper on it. A new paradigm for the serpent mound. No one's ever thought of that before. And the only reason why it happened was because Gary Stearman was lecturing Genesis 3:15 at the Nephilim Mounds Conference. Mark Hirschman, amateur archaeologist, was there. He went, oh my gosh, LA, you can't believe this. He told it to me. We went out to the serpent mound and I was just completely blown away. So 18 and a half year lunar cycle, the mouth opens up to the equinox. The Great Circle Mound in Ohio encompasses 1,250 yards. I'm sorry, 1,250 feet, circumference of it. Diameter, not circumference is this way, diameter is 1,250, okay? It's got a moat that goes in the interior of the circle. It's huge. It's absolutely huge, 1,250 feet, right? Diameter, really big. And so it's got this moat which goes all the way, and we film this. We show Bruce Willis, who's the surveyor. It's not Bruce, and he's standing down down at the bottom of the moat. He's a surveyor, and he told us on film that moat all the way around is within 6 inches to a foot of being dead level, and you can account for that for the thousands of years of silt and stuff which has fallen at the bottom of it. So for all practical purposes, it's dead level. How did they know that? How did they make the octagon with irregular sides? And you can only see the octagon when you fly a drone.
Well, that would be just like those drawings on the ground in, I think it's in Peru or Ecuador.
It's the only way you can see it. That's called the Nazca lines in Peru, and we were there. We also filmed there. And by the way, sorry, Bruce, it's Todd Willis. And no one, to the best of my knowledge, no one had ever done that. Hire a surveyor, and let's see how level the moat is. We're the first team to do that. Cost $1,000, whatever. It was worth every nickel because we gleaned so much information from that. So that just, hopefully that whets some of the people's appetites. That's what the series is about. We go filming, talking to experts, and we're on the trail of a Nephilim. Here's the punchline. Because these sites were not built by human beings.
Mm-hmm. So if they weren't built by human beings, who built them?
That's why we're on the trail of Nephilim, folks.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, you have all of these mounds. I mean, you've been dealing with things with the Nephilim, and as far as I know, the Nephilim are the joining of human women and the fallen angels, and they created what we call the Nephilim. The Nephilim, in turn, when their human side counterpart of them died, the spiritual part of them lived on, and now we have what we call demons. So this is where all that stuff came from. So, I mean, you're looking at the stuff in Peru, you're looking at the mounds. I have to ask myself, why Ohio? Why 10,000 mountains in a place like Ohio? I mean, what is it that would make people want to build all these mounds in Ohio?
There was no one here. They fled the Levant 4,000 years ago. And basically 4,000 years ago, there nothing in the Americas per se. So they came in, and this goes back. America Stonehenge, for instance, the number 4 in the series. There was a stone that was discovered on the site. It's a 4,000-year-old site.
Yeah.
And there was an inscription on the stone, but no one could read it. And Dr. Barry Fell was a Harvard professor, died in the 90s very suddenly, was an epigrapher. He studied ancient languages and ancient inscriptions. And so he came into the museum at the site that was then called Mystery Hill. They changed the name to America Stonehenge. It's got huge megaliths, an altar, a hidden chamber with an oracle chamber. It's an unbelievable place. We spent a week there basically filming, 4 or 5 days filming and interviewing. I'm working on part 2. It should come out fairly soon, by the end of June at the latest. But here's the rub, which is just incredible. Dr. Barry Fell comes in. The stone was found underneath the collapsed chamber, the huge roofing slab which had collapsed in this chamber. They're digging under there. They find the slab of stone with the writing. It sits in the museum for 11 years. No one can decipher it. So Dr. Barry Fell wanders in. He goes, that looks like Phoenician, Proto-Phoenician. He gets a rubbing of it, takes it back. And in the film, I show this. So Kelsey Stone is the 3rd generation of the Stone family who's been on the site, Mystery Hill, America Stonehenge. So I got a little Osmo camera. I'm following Kelsey around in the museum. And Kelsey goes, and here's the display case where we've got the stones with writing on them that came out of the site. Excuse me, and I left it. I didn't cut this. I left it so you can hear my absolute amazement on film. Remember, the Osmo, I'm focusing on him. I go, well, what's this stone say? And Kelsey says, this is the dedication stone dedicating the site to Baal of the Canaanites.
And this is in Ohio?
You hear me go, oh, no, this is in, I mean, I'm blown away at this point. I can't believe what I'm hearing. And he sort of giggles nervously and he goes, yeah, to Baal of the Canaanites. And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is Nephilim Central. The Canaanites were a name and
that's crazy. That is amazing.
All of the Neph tribes, the Canaanites in New Hampshire. Kevin?
Yes, we dropped for a second there. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that the dedication stone says to Baal of the Canaanites should make the hair on everybody's head stand up straight. Seriously.
That's
because
amazing.
that rewrites America as we know it. In the second film, we show connectivity. And I'll just give you whet your appetite a little bit. Folks, you got to go to my website and order this. You can stream it. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to order anything. Just stream it for under $12. All 4 videos 4 hours worth of film, streaming.lamarzulli.net. Streaming.lamarzulli.net. Go there for for $12. Heck, we sell one DVD for 20. If you want the DVD, you can buy it, but you can stream it. So it's cheaper. Watch it and watch it tonight. The bottom line is, and I'll just whet your appetite. This is what we're getting into in the second film. There's a connectivity which had laid completely unknown for thousands of years. The people of the world had no idea of this connectivity, and we reveal it in the second film.
Wow.
Between America's Stonehenge and Stonehenge, England. And when that film's not ready yet. It's coming out the end of June. What we show in that film is absolutely mind-boggling.
Wow.
I mean, it's just, Kevin, there's a hidden history of the world which has been deliberately obfuscated from the hidden.
Now, aren't a lot of these sites and things not written? Excuse me. They're constructed on what they call ley lines.
Absolutely.
And so they all line up. I mean, they're like perfect geometry where these things just line up with other things on the map.
Yeah.
If you could lay the world out as a map,
Right.
it just boom, 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 boom. It's like, how could they know that? How? How did that happen?
It's impossible because the only way you can do that is to triangulate in the air. And here's a couple of things for all you flat earthers. The only way you can get from, let's say, America Stonehenge to point B, you've got to be able to calculate the curvature of the Earth. If you don't calculate the curvature of the Earth, you're going to wind up hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from where you want to be. So let's say you wanted to go from America Stonehenge, let's just pick Los Angeles, California, right? In order to do that and have it line up, well, you could just draw a line. But then if you put a standing stone where, let's say, the summer solstice, sun rises, so you're standing in the center of your site, and you erect a menhir, a standing stone out a couple hundred yards away, and the rising sun comes up there at the summer solstice, longest day of the year. But when you line that line up with the summer solstice, you wind up in Los Angeles, California. But what if I told you it wound up
Amazing.
at Stonehenge, England? I'll whet your appetite. And it split the center trilithon in Stonehenge, England, exactly thousands of miles away. There's no freaking way that that's a coincidence.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way that could be, as you said, a coincidence. No. It just doesn't happen that way, and we're supposed to believe that people who didn't even have the wheel could pull that off.
The only way you can do it, you've got to know advanced trigonometry. You've got to know that the Earth, the circumference of the Earth, you've got to be able to triangulate, means three objects in the air. You've got to be at three different points. You've got to be able to account for the curvature of the Earth. It's incredibly complex, incredibly complex. Can we do it in modernity? Yeah, we can. But this is 4,000 years ago, and yet mainstream archaeologists refuse to look at the site. Oh, it was just it was the big sacrificial altar was used as an apple press. Yeah, that's the ticket. Not so offensive.
It's offensive, yeah, to anybody with a mind with two brain cells to rub together. It's offensive, and the thing is, you go back 4,000 years. We're talking about a time when Moses was walking the planet, so that kind of puts some things into perspective about where the technology was and everything else. I mean, I can go back to the pyramids. I've been picking on them, but to this day, you cannot put a piece of paper between the stones. They line up so perfectly. I mean, the Great Pyramid in Giza was the tallest object on Earth. I think it was until the Empire State Building was built in the 1930s. So that's the significance of the structure. And I mean, they couldn't do that. And let's just say, okay, with all of our modern technology, they build one of the, like you look at the buildings in Dubai, very tall, very beautiful. They got a wow factor. But LA, let me ask you this. Are they going to be standing in 4,000 years? I don't think so.
No way. And there's a little scripture that's found in the Genesis narrative right after the flood when they're building a Tower of Babel. And it says they built with brick instead of stone. Why is that there? Why did the Holy Spirit made sure Moses, hey, make sure you write this. They build with brick because they don't know how to build with stone, because the entities that had the technology to do that are no longer on the planet. They got kicked out of here, and the gateways and the portals are closed, but they're opened up now with the Tower of Babel. In episode 3, Secrets of the Supernatural Voices from the Other Side, which that in itself is a mind blower. Episode 3 will blow your mind. It's just a mind blower. We show the Mayan elders going to the Great Serpent Mound, which I just talked about, with the serpent with his mouth swallowing the egg. They go there in 2011.
Wow.
Because 2012 was when, they go there. The Mayan elders go there with the 13 crystal skulls. They got all these new age yahoos there. They're all chanting like that. It's unnerving. We show a little bit of it in the film. We show it in the film. They are opening the gate. They are opening the portal. And then from there, we give Henry Gruber's testimony of how he was struck down when he went to the Serpent Mound alone at night to shut it down. And the Lord said, I didn't call you to do this. And he was struck down, and it's snowing, and he can't get up, and he's paralyzed, and he realized he's going to freeze to death. And he prays, calls out to Jesus, and Jesus said, Henry, I'm gonna set you free here, but reverse what the enemy's trying to do to kill you, but I didn't tell you to come here. And, it's the sin of presumption. And we have all this in the film. We show it. And our guy who does all of our CGI, Wesley Sangiorgi, all you hear is Henry talking, narrating his story. And thanks to Steve Quayle, who allowed us to use that audio. But we bring it to life. Wesley Sangiorgi brings it to life. And that'll blow your mind. Then we have a pastor who was a pastor in the Newark Mountains in Newark, Ohio. And he walks into this thing, and the parishioners are calling him. They're all freaked out. Something's going on in my house. He goes over there, walks in the front door, but table's levitating off the floor because the house is built on a mound. Another one is they open the door to a crawl space. Sometimes it's just a normal crawl space. Other times they open the door, it's a bottomless pit. They throw stuff down the bottomless pit. They never hear it. They never hear it hit the bottom. I'm not making this stuff up. We got stuff on film that happened to us while we were on one of the mounds.
What happened?
That's all on the. I won't
Can you
tell
give
you.
me one example? I can tell you this. Yeah. What happened? I can give you a story about the late Doc Marquis. He was investigating. There was a place out in the Midwest where he had actually filmed demons coming through a portal.
Right.
And I will tell you, I've done my show right now coming up 24 years. And in the 24 years I've done my program, done my TV show, I've had people give me video to roll in and this and that. Well, nothing prepared me for what I went through with that video. And I have multiple witnesses. I have people who sat there and watched the video shut down, freeze. It did everything it could not to be re-recorded when we tried to get it into the right format, to do what it needed to do. It was the most bizarre because the evil contained on that video was so off the chart. And then when I tried to slow the video down and show it in a super slow motion speed so people could really see what was happening, we had all kinds of issues just trying to get it to play. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And folks, we have been talking. Yeah, go ahead, LA. It was one of the most creepy things. Go ahead.
Is a pickup truck, and you see this what looks like a wolf, but it's not a wolf. You see this image of a wolf, and it hits the ground, and it jumps over the pickup truck, hits the ground, and flies up in the air. And we showed that. Yeah, that's the same one. And Doc and I actually talked about all that. So yeah, it's we know the woman who filmed it. It's actually a friend of ours, Pastor Curtis's sister, who filmed it on the Navajo reservation. And by the way, when I was on the Navajo reservation, I got struck down. I was not prepared, and there were that guaranteed shamans that were there that were doing stuff because I got violently ill, and Yeah, when I went to Chaco Canyon, I was running a high fever, the whole 9 yards. So, you don't wander into these places unless you're prayed up. And,
Hmm.
even when we were even this year, all the stuff I'm supposedly knowing, right? So we're over in Carnac, France, and we're down in Spain and Portugal and all these different places. By the time I get to France, man, I'm like, same thing. I'm down for the count. I'm down. I was still working, still filming, had to. But I'm laying in bed one night praying to the Lord, and then He healed me. And the next day I was fine and 100%. So, all this comes with, and look, I'm turning 70 this year, and I'm on fire. I can't,
Yeah.
the whole airline stuff when you can't travel anymore has put a kibosh. We were supposed to be in Ohio at the Derek Gilbert will be there, which will be
Yeah.
fantastic, and Jafria. So and I think Chief Justice Riverwood's going to do a video for us. But and I know Gary Stearman's already done a video for us. But look, I mean, all this is it's incredible stuff. You can go to streaming.lamarzulli.net,
Yeah.
streaming.lamarzulli.net. $12. What's $12? It's not,
Yeah.
or just watch one. You don't want to get all four, then just watch one, and your mind will be blown, guaranteed.
Yeah, I know when you were doing the stuff with the UFOs and all, I remember you had sent me the first disc to view, and that was about 48 minutes. And I remember it ended, and I was like, what? I want to see more. I want to see more because it just blew me away. And I remember from a couple of years ago talking with you, you were known for being on like the History Channel, I believe it is, and stuff like that, talking about some of the stuff, Ancient Aliens, but they would give you a clip that was about 3 seconds long, take you out of context, and I know that's one of the reasons that motivated you to do what you're doing now. And it's great to see you expanding
Absolutely.
into all these other great topics that I know for the most part a lot of Christians can shy away from, be afraid of. And to me, it's never anything that you want to be afraid of, because we have God. We have the one that trumps everything, that trumps all, and and we need to know what the enemy is doing. Just like with Gideon, when he was shown what was happening in the enemy's camp. We need to have that same type of information to know what's going on in the enemy's camp, so that we can be more effective as Christians in doing what we do. I mean, it's really that simple.
Well, it is, and that's why. I mean, look, I'll say our mission statement again: to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air, which is what we do in the films, and then we point people to Jesus, because
Yeah.
there's this global war going on that's been going on, and yes, we see remnants of it all over the place. So there
Yes.
you have it.
Hey, with the few minutes we have left, could you talk to me a little bit about disclosure and what you think is going on that front? Because in my mind, you're one of the best people I can talk to about this.
Glenn Beck 2 days ago on his show had a guy from to the Stars Academy who basically stated on the record on Glenn Beck that they've examined metal which was retrieved from down unidentified craft. Okay,
Hmm.
and the isotopes, some of the isotopes in there are not found on this planet. They're not. They're not found here. You can't make them here. So we're looking at unknown metal made from an unknown place.
Mm.
That's the third rung. Look, Tucker Carlson in 2017 had Commander David Fravor on talking about the UFO, Tic Tac shaped UFO. When asked, what do you think this was? Fravor stated on the record, whatever it was not from this world. First level.
Hmm.
Second level is Luis Elizondo, which basically backs him up saying the same thing, that this was real, that it was there. But they've also been able to get metals, and they're going to start testing the metals. The third rung on the ladder was the results of those testings, and those isotopes found in the metal are not found on this planet. That's the third rung of disclosure. The fourth rung on the disclosure, you could say, would be the Pentagon stating that the footage that was taken is real, along with three others.
Mm.
It's all real. It's there. So they basically, and they don't call them UFOs, unidentified objects. They call them unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP. That's the accepted term. So anybody who calls them UFO is still wearing the tinfoil hat. If I call it UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, that's accepted. It's such a bunch of hooey. So
That's
unbelievable.
amazing.
So the
That's
cat's out of the
amazing.
bag. We're on we're on rung number 4 of the disclosure ladder.
So is there a rung higher than that, or
God's
are we?
Yeah. The top rung eventually where we'll get to is when a mile wide or half mile wide or whatever just sits there in the sky and doesn't go anywhere. That's when, you know what's happened with this COVID-19? It's a dry run. The entire globe is in lockstep. Boom. Everybody's facing the same way, right? The entire globe. Wait till this happens. The entire globe will do this. Boom. And then all bets are up. Welcome to the Great Deception. Welcome
it's
to
amazing.
the Great Deception.
And you're seeing exactly how it's going to happen. And I see the comparisons going back to 9/11. 9/11, you had kind of like an invisible enemy, terrorism. They were over there. You didn't know who was going to be a terrorist. You didn't know who was going to jump out from under what rock. You didn't know. But now you move forward, and back then the heroes were the firemen, the policemen, and you had the narrative. So the narrative now is you don't know, maybe you, LA, maybe me, maybe we could be a typhoid Mary, a carrier, and oh, you're a bad person, you're the enemy, and now the enemy is of course invisible. It's out from among one of us, and now the heroes are not the first responders so much, but the people working in retail and everybody that's keeping the stores running. All the major box stores, the mom and pops, of course, they're closed and they're starving. But
why is that?
Well, that's because the virus knows not to go to a big box store. Just go to the mom and pop down the street.
And I called Lowe's and I said, Lowe's right here in Edmond. And I said, how many people come into your store in a day? He said between 1,500 and 3,000. I called a very popular local restaurant and said, how many patrons come into your store before the Wuhan virus hit? He said, we have as a low 300, as a high, depending on what it is, maybe 900. So let me get something straight. They're shut down, but Lowe's is open? Not making any sense to me. None. Absolutely nada. And that's why this whole thing is a scamdemic. They're using, it's real, but they're using it. They're fudging the numbers, in my opinion. And Dr. Birx came right out and said she can't trust what the CDC is saying. So how many, something is going on. They're pushing an agenda out in California. They're already talking about these teams of people who go door to door and test everybody in the house to make sure no one's got COVID-19. And if you got it, we're going to take your kid right now to a location over my dead body, pal. Over my dead body. That's where we are. Where we are, Kevin. Well, look, it's been great being here. I'll close out the show by saying this. Folks, if you're at all interested in on the trail of Nephilim, and if you're not, then I guess you're just dead. And I mean that with all love, because this will make the Bible jump. It'll make it come alive. It'll explain so much. And you can get it at streaming.lamarzulli.net. Streaming.lamarzulli.net. Kevin, God bless you. Thank you for all the work that you do. We'll talk soon.